Hey everybody, so I'm going to be doing another review today, this time of Cast and Play, and they have a new lineup called Midnight Curse that is already out. So this is now middle of March, and this is their trailer for Midnight Curse. I've seen a couple of these models. I don't think I've seen all of them. Let me just go full screen here. There we go. But it's a vampire thing. I know that. And with all of the rumors about Soul Blight and stuff coming out to Warhammer, I'm actually interested to see what this is. So let's take a look. Cast and Play, another Patreon STL designer. They typically do pretty solid job. I mean, I usually like what they put out. I don't get a lot of their stuff, but they're not bad. I mean, I guess I'll say it that way. So let's take a look. I muted their audio like I usually do. Okay, so they're gonna give you scenery right away. Oh, so this is like a legit trailer, okay. Well, I hope we can see the models. Okay, maybe I should put on the audio. Looks like one of the old Warhammer commercials from like the '90s. All right. Oh, furniture and stuff, interiors. That's cool. Okay, I'm into that. I'm into that. That looks really good. All right. Stop there right there. So this is very spot on for what Cast and Play normally would have. I will give them a lot of credit because a lot of these companies now they put a lot of production into this trailer. It looks like as far as trying to have camera cuts and lighting, but they keep the resin looking like resin, which I appreciate. I think that that's a nice thing to do. I do like the effects that some companies get when they do things to their models, but this looks like they maybe just primed them and then left them alone, and then they're lighting them and putting smoke around them and stuff. But you can get an idea of what the prints will look like when they come out, which is kind of nice. Also, I do like the custom bases. Like that's a cool looking custom base. And the models look good. They look fairly traditional for vampire werewolf type stuff. And Cast and Play is usually right in that market where they're not trying to reinvent they're not trying to reinvent the wheel. They're just trying to make good solid versions, their own versions of these kind of motifs. And they do a good job of that. So yeah, so far I'm liking what I see. It looks pretty dynamic, looks pretty nice. Looks, they have a great tendency of realizing, hey, these have to be playable. They're not just display pieces, and still look good. And they're doing a good job of that right now. Oh, there we go. So that looks like now. A minute ago, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, this is definitely D&D only. You know what I mean? Because they look like all characters. This looks a lot like a Vargeist from Warhammer, which obviously is my preference because that's what I play. So that definitely looks like it could proxy in. It looks like it's on a really large base though, so I'd have to see what the base size is. These other two bat type guys are cool looking. The background looks really cool. And then of course they put in the dice for D&D. So obviously this is either going to be more of a squad dungeon crawler kind of experience, which makes sense. I mean that's kind of their jam. So that looks good though. That looks good. Oh, and it has exterior. So the walls are going to have it for both inside and outside. That's awesome. That looks really. I wish there was a little bit of better focus on them, but they look nice and intricate. They look like they'd be fairly straightforward to print out and stuff, and then painting would be great. So that looks really nice. The boss man, that looks good. Nice chair. Looks like a witch hag. And is that like a succubus that was behind there? That looks cool, but let's go back to that for a second. That looks cool, but they're all on a single base. So I don't know. Now, they may come separately, which actually I can almost guarantee they probably print separately, and then they put them on that base. So you could probably put them on a 25 mil and have them be separate characters or separate, like chaff units or whatever. but they put them on a single base, which is kind of interesting. But these are cool looking. They look like zombie slash ghoul type deals. Furniture and so that's all very cool. That all looks really good too. Oh, is that another vampire or is that a hundred? I see. So that was supposed to be the vampire form versus that versus that. So different forms. I like that. So let's talk about this for a minute. So cast and play. Let's I mean this is artsy fartsy. So let's talk about aesthetics for a minute. Cast and play does a great job of riding the line between realism and not being cartoonish, but being a little bit of comic bookish, if you will. So what do I mean by that, right? You've heard me probably say, if you've watched some of the other videos, that like Artisan Guild, which is another great design team, that they invest into caricature more than some of the others, and it frees them up to have really dynamic flow, and they can get really, really like accentuated action poses and stuff because of that. Cast and Play does a good job of making some choices that are comic bookish, but then the execution is still fairly mimetic. So mimetic meaning lifelike. So I'll give you, and this is some great examples right here. What we're seeing is that this bookshelf, the choice to make it like a coffin is comic bookish, like that choice. But then the execution of the bookshelf is not cartoonish. It's very realistic. The same with this chair. The chair is obviously meant to be exaggerated. It's meant to be like a comic book. But the execution of it, the details, the way that he sits in it also, by the way, is really great. But it's very well executed in a style that can be perceived as realistic, even though the choice of the shape of the actual chair is accentuated. It is more comic bookish, but it's not cartoonish. So it's a difference. There is a visual aesthetical language choice going on with Cast and Play. And to Cast and Play's credit, same credit I'll give to Artisan Guild, is it's a choice because you can tell it's a choice because they consistently perform that way. They consistently deliver this look and feel, which is fantastic. No, they do a nice job. I think that's pretty exciting. I'll tell you why. So, being a Warhammer guy, there was a part of me that was hoping that like the Vargeist looking guy would be in multiples so that I could make units and maybe make like a proxy for crypt flayers or something like that for a fleshier carts. But also with Soulblight, I mean the big rumor is Soulblight's going to be coming out in some fashion. So there could be proxies in here that I'm not thinking of because I don't know what that line's going to be. But I will tell you that for someone who plays D&D, and I know that I'm not a huge D&D guy, but I know that there's vampire aspects of D&D. But the scenery, the scenery and the chairs and the all the furniture and stuff is like worth the price of admission alone, because you could print a bunch of this stuff and you could make a dungeon crawler that does not feel like a dungeon crawler. You could make a maze of stuff, and when you're playing it, it will feel like you're in a mansion, like a haunted mansion or like a castle or something like that, without it feeling like bricked cave like dungeon crawl, right? Totally different. I mean, I don't know easily of boards that could, that people can say, yeah, I already do that. I don't know that I've seen that. So being able to get this and print those in multitude and then be able to make mazed up areas that are of a house would be awesome, because you could really play out an interesting game or a campaign even that goes through like a house, which is really cool. I would buy it for that. Let me just make sure there's nothing else. I think that's the end of the video though. So that's That's solid stuff by Cast and Play. Cast and Play is a good company. Midnight Curse is the name of the release. It's out now, I'm assuming, because it is March right now. And I'm going to have to go look. I might pick that up. So, all right. Thanks a lot. Talk to you next time.